Kayak Bass Nation. Hey, welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation.
Kayak Bass Nation is presented by Dugout Bait and Tackle. Go to dugoutfishing.com to find everything you need for your next kayak bass fishing tournament.
Hope you enjoy the show. Jeff Malott, Lunch Money Lambert, Lego.
Also sponsored by Revo Sunglasses. Go to revo.com, use code KBN25 to save 25% off your next order. Revo, best lenses on earth. Also sponsored by Western Sun Vodka. Go to westernsundistillery.com and use the bottle finder to find a bottle near you.
Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to KBN Live. Happy Monday to you. We are fresh off the Bassmaster Classic weekend and Bassmaster Kayak Series Championship week. We've got a couple of great guests for you tonight. We got the champion and the runner-up, Eric Siddiqi, and his name in the waiting room is Maryland guy, John Milchling.
Milchling, yes.
Yeah. Everybody kept saying the Maryland guy. Is he going to hold on? But yeah, we got those guys in the waiting room. We'll have them in here in a little bit after we do a little talking on what went down over the week down there at the Classic at the Expo, and like we always do. Ryan, you're not feeling too well. How you hanging in there, man?
I think somebody poisoned me out there. I don't know. It was probably Mark or Eric, if I had to guess. I don't know. I got my Batman voice on.
You got the Omega variant.
So I don't know what I got, man. Something.
Yeah, man. Well, you were there. Tell us about the Expo week, man. How that went.
It was obviously busy, but it was awesome. I mean, it really was. It was, such a huge crowd. Dugout had several tricked out kayaks in the Hobie booth, and we were manning it, and then on the opposite side we had a Seagar booth, and Dugout just had a wall of Seagar line running specials on it, so we were kind of bouncing back and forth and covering both. But I mean, the interest in those tricked out kayaks, I think people, when they think about kayaks, they picture like a Sun Dolphin or something from Walmart. Like when they hear kayak fishing, that's what they think is happening. I don't think the major portion of the bass fishing community realizes that we're out there with forward facing sonar and spot lock and motors, like, all the bells and whistles. And, when they see that and they kind of gain a little appreciation for all the stuff that we can do, on our platforms, it was neat, kind of opening people's eyes to that for sure. And
what was the showroom price of that tricked out boat that actually sold off the expo floor?
It was like $21,000 some odd dollars retail on that. Yeah. Special show price of $19,999 or whatever.
Somebody walked out of there with it. That's crazy.
Yeah, some guy came up, and I'm pretty sure, as if the story is true, that he bought it for like his 11-year-old son that wants to start kayak fishing. So,
nice. Well,
so now that kid's got the baddest boat in kayak fishing. Congrats, sonny boy.
That's insane. Well, we got to watch earlier in the week before the expo, these two guys go at it in the actual championship. And just like the Classic itself, it came down to just with them ounces, but for our guys, barely, less than an inch, quarter inch separated them. Unbelievable.
It was nuts. It was, I mean, the anticipation too, like, we didn't know obviously who had won at that point. And I'm, talking to Siddiqi, and nobody really knew who had called last. Like, obviously things happen when the scoreboard goes off, and everybody's being kind of tight-lipped about it. So we were kind of on pins and needles there, waiting to see how it shook out. Yeah, and
some of the crew took Eric out to celebrate. It looked like so.
We did. We did.
The Outlaw
Kings. Yeah. The Outlaw Kings is what we call our little tribe of misfits.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's all confidential. We may ask him about that when we get him in here, but.
It's not confidential.
Not confidential.
Mark will go live. Mark doesn't care. He doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Rome is burning.
Yeah, that was cool to see. I was upset. I was at home, obviously, and I was working from home that day, so I was trying to pirate the Bassmaster feed that I did last year and pirate it in and show it to the folks on our page, but I couldn't find it. So I was left scrambling, and they didn't have a feed. So I was using your phone. You went live there, Steve. I pulled his feed in, but then shout out to Todd Patrick because he had a straight on stage view from somewhere in the arena, and I found his over on Facebook while I was scrambling around and shared it, so we were able to share it.
So he was further around he was like 2 sections over to the right of us. I think he had it on maybe the big screen, like they have the big TV in the middle. Basically, to get close to, I wanted to be close enough to where they could hear me yelling things as they were getting their trophies. To be straight on from the stage, we couldn't get down in the pit this year, so you would have been like 200 yards across the arena. And, and obviously, if you hear my voice right now, I don't think I was equipped for that mission.
Yeah.
So,
well, shout out to Todd. You saved the day, Todd. We pulled your video over. Hope you don't mind, but if it's out there on Facebook, it's fair game. We're going to snag it. So, good job, Todd. One announcement that came out there at the Classic, let me throw this up, was BOS announcing the college tour. Oh, yeah. And putting our boy Steve Owens in charge of the college tour. Not that he needed something else on his plate, but he's got it.
Steve's always looking for his next project.
Yeah, that was cool to see. See how that goes and see what kind of interest the college kids can pull. How do you think that's going to go?
I mean, I heard, from several, especially like the Carson Newman kids, the Auburn kids, like they're planning on participating in this. I think, economically, I think the college series really has a lot more potential to take off even over its bass program. I mean, if you look at initial investment, some of these college kids don't have 50 or 60 grand at their disposal to go out and snag a high-end boat to be competitive on the glitter boat side, but they can afford fuel and obviously a pretty decent kayak to get started. So I think that has a whole lot of potential to take off, depending on how the colleges themselves receive it and support it, I think.
Yeah. And I'm sorry I'm asking you a lot of questions, not even taking into account that you're having a hard time talking. Sorry.
I don't care, man. I'm here for it.
Yeah. Hey, and if you guys are watching this, help us out as always and give this thing a share. We don't have a giveaway tonight, but we'll have one next week. So give our stream a share here, because I'm sure folks are going to know how the two guys figured this lake out in the slugfest that they put on over those 2 days in the middle of the week last week. Before we get them in here, let's shout out our sponsors, of course, presented by Dugout Bait and Tackle. Appreciate Dugout. As Ryan said, they had a huge showing at the expo, did some good business there. Go to dugoutfishing.com. And then revo.com, KBN25, save you some money on some Revos. And Western Sun Vodka. You can actually order Western Sun to be delivered if you have the Drizzly app near you, or you can just go to Bottle Finder on their website and find what you need there. So there you go. All right, let's stop messing around. Let's get these guys in here and get the juice.
Let's do it.
Boom, Maryland guy. Posted up, lay hands up, and surrender Cobra. John, how you doing, sir? Thanks for joining us.
What's going on, young fella?
Yeah, you figured this thing out.
Buddy. We're out here.
Ryan, earlier we were trading messages, and John was concerned he was going to have some technical difficulties trying to get on this thing, but he figured it out.
I think you got to understand, I'm an old guy. So when I was your guys' age, we didn't even have cell phones.
John, you're not that much older than me, dude.
We didn't have these internets and things.
Yeah.
You made it.
Yeah, we had Eric in a second ago. He keeps coming in and out, so if he joins back in.
He said he could. Yeah, he said he couldn't hear. He texted me and said he couldn't hear anything. I don't know.
Okay, I think he's coming back in. We'll try him again.
So if Eric can't get in, you're the new champion, okay, Maryland guy?
There he is. Can you hear us, Eric?
Yeah, I hear you now.
All right, good. We got Eric in here. We got John. We're off and running. We're good to go. So welcome.
Where are you at, Eric? I thought you were making it home. I talked to you earlier.
I'm working there. I had to stop the first skyline I could find, which was in Lexington, so I just ate, and then I'm about an hour from home.
I got you. What's that? Right. What's that behind you over your shoulder?
No.
You got the seatbelt on?
He had that thing like a keychain dragging it around. And Todd Patrick is the official trophy bearer. He was carrying it for the better part of 2 days for him.
Yeah, and Eric, I don't know if you could hear us before we brought you in here, but we were giving a shout out to Todd because he carried the torch with the good video feed, and we were able to snatch it off his Facebook page and put it on ours. So appreciate
that's
Todd,
cool.
man.
Yeah.
He did a
He
fine
came
job.
all the way from Cincinnati to watch me. He asked where I was fishing to. He sent a drone out and watched me. He saw me catch the winning fish, which turned out to be the winning fish. So, yeah.
So a little back, we did the podcast last week, and that we made our picks or whatever, and he's like, "You messed up. Siddiqi's gonna win." And I was like, being a smart ass, and I was like, I don't know if anybody's going to give me spots on this one. Ha, ha, ha. And then I'm looking at the leaderboard, and Siddiqi cracked him like first thing, like right off the bat. And I was like, did Todd know something that I'd like, did he have some premonition? Was this a dream? And then day two, obviously he had some ground to make up. And Todd is like, he calls, he's like, I'm in the parking lot, man. I'm watching. He just caught one. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, I'm flying the drone over him right now. And I was like, you are in the parking lot of his boat ramp watching him catch fish? He's like, yep, he just called. I think he did it. So excited. And then, of course, that makes me excited. And nobody knows. Nobody knew if Maryland guy called. He wouldn't say anything at all. He was tight-lipped to everybody. It was hilarious. Way to bring it down to the wire, boys.
Yeah, made for a fun weigh-in. Nobody knew. I mean, as much as people like to think they know stuff and trade backdoor DMs everywhere, nobody knew. So,
how did it end up for you, Maryland guy? Did you know that Siddiqi called? Did you have a feeling that he called? I mean, where were you at going into this?
So since I really don't know him, you know his name, so he can catch it, right?
Yep.
I'm sitting down there and I'm really by myself, and I said, I know he's going to catch him. I know he's getting close. I'm not looking at the leaderboard, So really, all I could do was cry. And I had this 15-inch fish I couldn't get rid of, and I really, really wanted to get rid of him, but I couldn't. So when I got back to the house, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, if he catches one good one, just one more, I'm done. So. But you know what, though? I got to say, we sure did put on a good show.
You put on a great show. I mean, all the way up until the last second, even when they said a quarter inch which way. Like, yeah. I knew he'd called, but what if you called and caught a half-inch, bigger fish? Like, that didn't solve anything until they turned that leaderboard on. It was wild. Eric, when did you get down there, and how did you find the area that you kind of stumbled upon right off the bat?
Yeah, I got there Saturday morning. Actually, Friday night I slept through the pilot, of course, and then Saturday we weren't allowed to start fishing Russell until Sunday. So Saturday I decided to go out on the water on Hartwell, and I hadn't been on the water since the TOC, so I wanted to test my gear out and see if everything was working and all that stuff. So did that, and then I went out Sunday. And really, the only guy who launched from my ramp was Iconelli. And I never saw him on the water, but I picked an area that looked different. Nothing on the lake looked like it. It kind of stood out to me. So then went over there. There was a lot of riprap, and there were some ponds cut off back there. I thought there might be, some underwater culverts or something like that. So I went looking, and I found a lot of smaller fish, and kept working my way back, and I got in the back and I started marking these huge marks. And I'm like, from what I know about this lake, there's no way these are bass. They're set up like bass, but there's no way they're bass. And I made a cast and caught a 22.5 on the first cast. So I knew they were bass then, and made another cast out there, caught one just under 21. And then Todd was actually on the phone when I found him. He's like, stop catching them. Stop catching them. I'm like, I haven't fished in 4 months. I'm catching these fish. He's like, please don't.
So this was Sunday. So Todd knew that you were on him then before he started talking trash. That makes sense. That makes sense.
So then I made another cast, and one ate it, and I just let him swim with it. He drops it. I try to reel it in. Another one eats it. And I was like, geez, what did I just find over here? And I went and checked on them every day and just sat on them. And they were there every day. They had a bunch of bait pushed back there, and I felt like the wind was going to blow right and was going to keep that bait in there, and the fish should stay, and they did. For once, the weather held up for a couple days, which never really happens. But yeah, so it all worked out pretty good.
And what were you catching them on? I mean, what were your go-tos through the tournament?
Well, in practice, I was throwing, shaky head and Carolina rig, and I couldn't get them to eat it during the tournament. I ended up having to pick up a couple of swim baits. I was going back and forth between a Kitech and a diesel minnow. Um, so it was working out. A little ball head jig, the 1/4 ounce. And just,
Eric, I've heard you say before you throw a Carolina rig. You always have that in the lineup, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I love that.
They eat it.
I love
Yeah.
I love the ball and chain, and a lot of people don't. So I appreciate that about you, man. Love the Carolina rig.
I like fishing slow. Doesn't
Yeah.
bother me. Only thing I do fast is drive fast. I got to make up for my my slowness in some way.
Johnny, when did you get in town, and tell us kind of what you found? Like, we've heard a couple interviews and specifics on what Eric did and what he got on. Tell us about your bite.
So the first day of practice, we all know it rained and it was cold. So we decided as a house to go to the Waffle House.
Yes.
Good plan.
Oh yeah, it wasn't no sense. I mean, we had all went down to Texas, and y'all, if you know anything, you know how it was down in Texas. It was cold and it was miserable.
Yeah.
So the first day, we went to breakfast and we drove around, looked at some of the boat ramps. The second day, we decided to go up north, and I really didn't find anything up north that I liked. So I said, well, we got this half a day. So we drove around. When we drove around, I saw this restaurant that had a boat ramp. I want to say it was Clifford's, but the boat ramp was closed. It was on the south end of the lake by the dam. So we couldn't use the boat ramp. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go up and use the boat ramp up at Pearl Mill. And it was like maybe a half an hour, 45-minute ride in the kayak. So I go down there and checked out the actual docks and stuff. And I go back in this one little cove, and I found the same thing that Eric found. There was like a freshwater pond all the way in the back that was blocked up by a beaver dam. And it was just letting, fresh water in back there. Mm-hmm. So I said, well, I got this jerk bait tied on. Let me throw it out there.
Oh, let's throw that up. Let's see that again. Throw that up there again. The juice. Is that just a Vision 110? What is that?
Yeah, it's an Edo Vision 110.
Okay.
And first cast, twitch. I didn't measure the fish. I didn't take a picture of him. I took the hooks out of him, put him back in the water, and left.
Smart.
And it's really the only thing that I had, the only really fish that I got on. So I left out, and I sat in the house that night, and I told myself, I said, well, I'm going back down there the next morning. Hopefully they live down there. And I went down there the first morning, and I think it even shows on Tourney X. I caught all those fish before 9:30. I caught the 97.5 the first day before 9:30.
That's insane. Did you think there was 97 inches there? I mean, did you have any idea what you just stumbled on?
No, I had no idea.
No.
But when I got down there, they had all the bait fish pushed all the way to the back, and I mean they were actively feeding.
Which I think is kind of similar to what you found, right, Eric? They just had all the bait just pushed back up in one little area there.
That's exactly right. It was about 6 foot against the bank back there, and there was a little 10-foot hole right there where there were always fish sitting in it. And there's a brush pile. There's a road bed that runs alongside that goes on almost all the way straight to the back of it. So I figured even if they did pull off of that, they would probably move over to that road bed and use it, for some cover or something. So I was able to catch actually the first day. Once the sun got up, they kind of pulled off of that shallower stuff and kind of chase bait a little deep in the deeper area, or like right off the road bed. I marked the school and I caught a 19-inch largemouth off it. This crappie boat saw me do it, and they're like, "Oh man, that's awesome! Do it again!" Like they just pulled right in front of me where I just caught that one. So I was like, "All right." So I made a cast right at their boat, and hooked into a 19 and a quarter inch largemouth right in front of them. And they saw me celebrate that one. I was like, "Yeah, baby, let's go!" And they're like, "Oh, I guess this is an important tournament." So they turned around and left after that.
It's kind of them.
Yeah.
Man. You know, I noticed something, Ryan, looking at the leaderboard. Every time we interview people from these 2-day tournaments, the people that win, usually a lot of times they're not first either day at all. They'll be like third one day and fourth the next. And if you look at day one, John was first, Eric was second. Day two, Eric first, John second. I mean, the top two guys did not waver.
They ran away with it. They ran away with it. But we
Y'all
talked,
straight up.
you know, in these big tournaments, we've talked about it time and time again, going wire to wire in these. That's AJ's favorite catchphrase there. It's so hard to do that 2 days in a row because usually, you know, some of it, especially if you just have one spot, it's tough to manage those fish. And like you want to put up a buffer on day one, you know, so hopefully you have a little bit of cushion going into day two. But if you go too hard, then you run out of fish on day two. Like that, these multi-day tournaments are very tricky as far as fish management goes, and this tells you exactly why.
Yeah. So let's go through each of your days. We kind of touched on them a little bit, but Eric, you know, you said you sat on those fish for a few days. You showed up day one. Take us through your day one.
Day one, I got out there, and I had about 5 minutes before the first crappie fisherman showed up, and they sat down on the bank, and he was the loudest crappie fisherman I've ever met. He's like, "So you catching them? Doing any good?" Or I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, yeah, like just keep down. Like, he's like, "What? I can't hear you." I'm like, "Oh my gosh." So I actually went over to him and I'm like, "Hey, I'm in a big tournament right now. Like, if you wouldn't mind, you know, maybe you got another spot you could go crappie fish, I'd appreciate it." And he goes, "I'm fishing here." He's like, "You can fish here too, but I'll be fishing there." I'm like, "All right, thanks, appreciate that."
Can you be quiet then?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I didn't have a bite for a while. My first fish in the morning came on. So you know, I was throwing the shaky head, chicken rig, Carolina rig, couldn't get him to eat anything. And I had a swim bait tied on. I turned around, I had a fish bust, and I turned around and threw the swim bait at it and caught it. It was I think 17.5-inch spot or something like that was my first fish. And so that's what keyed me into the swim bait, and I started throwing that. And all my fish came on it. After I got my 5 the first day, I decided to kind of leave them alone in my best area there, and I moved over to the roadbed and decided to just throw a biffle bug and just you know, grind that thing down the roadbed. And I caught my biggest fish on day one on it. It was a 19.5-inch largemouth. It was a pretty big call for me. I think I called a 17 or something. I can't remember.
There she is.
Yeah.
So what goes into that decision? Because these 2-day tournaments, Ryan talked about a little bit ago about managing your fish, you know, and I don't know if you checked the leaderboard and saw what John was doing or anything, but in your mind, just from fishing a lot of tournaments, did you know, hey, it's time to throttle back a little bit and lay off these fish?
Yeah, I didn't want to hammer them too hard and show up the next day and find out they decided it was too much pressure there and disappeared. I've seen that happen before, so that's why I decided just you know, and I know how good road beds can be. I love fishing them, and there's usually big fish hanging around, so I thought that would probably be a good opportunity to go. Since there was one right there, why not go just grind that thing for a while, see if I get one of those big ones to bite. So
yeah,
and it turned out to be a good decision.
Yeah, good stuff. And then John, you had the opposite deal, man. Day one for you, you already kind of talked about it, but it was hot and heavy right from the jump on day one for you.
Yeah, I mean, I lost a little bit of time in the morning because I had to do all that traveling, you know. But when I got down there, I mean, it probably didn't take me a half an hour to catch my first one. And they pretty much came in the first couple of hours, you know. I caught and usually I caught 7 fish, and that's all I took out of there. And they were all on that. In fact, all of my fish came on that jerkbait right there. You know, I never picked up another rod.
Did you lose any fish on that jerkbait is what I want to know. Because I usually do. Losing fish on the jerkbait. I've had him straighten the hooks. I've had him throw the thing back at me. I do not have a trusting relationship with treble hooks, unfortunately.
So I don't know if you can see this.
Here, hang on. I'll put you on the one up
But-
and see if we can show.
On the second day, I broke
Yep.
the two front treble hooks.
Yep. So that's what
yeah.
I'm saying. So I've had
And-
that happen quite a bit on the factory hooks, is why I asked that question specifically.
And man, I mean, these Gami hooks, I was still catching them.
Yeah.
And I never changed them.
Even on day one that happened, or day two?
Day one.
And you didn't change
And
them
you
out?
just kept on rolling. You said, I
man,
need
just-
hooks to catch these fish. They're just going to keep it tight-lipped
And
around the
they-
hard
I mean,
bait coming
They
in.
were eating it good. In fact, the 23 that I caught, he ate it and was running to me. And I didn't realize that he was coming to me. I was twitching and I'm like, all right, I don't feel anything. So I tried to reel up some of the slack and I'm like, man, this slack still, I still got slack in the line. I was like, oh shit.
I want to know mentally, when you see Casey Reed throw up a 25-inch fish roughly, were either of you two like, oh shit, I'm not on a big enough bag to hang with 25s? Like, did either of you see that? Number one, were you checking the leaderboard? But number two, were you like, I don't know if I got the juice for that? Because I saw it come up and I was like, if he is on anywhere, a school, if there's 25s in a school and he just puts up a limit of 18s after that, that's such a solid, 5-inch gap between a healthy, good fish and that monster. How did that factor in at all?
I didn't really look at the leaderboard. I never saw the fish till after the day was over. So, but yeah, that thing was a slob. I was like, oh man, that could be trouble. And he had the 23, which had me worried too. I know that's huge.
I was kind of upset because I figured that I had big bass of the day.
You can't count Casey Reed out. I really thought, especially seeing that one, I was like, yeah, he'll cull again. Obviously he's in a big fish area. I thought he would be up in there after Drew Gregory threw up the limit that he did. Drew's very consistent day to day. I thought he would be on stage too. That surprised me that either of those two weren't up there. What changed on day two, do you guys think, that allowed that to happen?
Supposedly they didn't generate. Of course, Drew was. The camera boat asked me the first day, you know where Drew is? I said, up a creek or a river somewhere. I can promise that.
Guaranteed.
I don't know other than that, but yeah. So I guess they didn't generate the second day. It kind of ruined his bite, But yeah, I was worried about him when I saw him an inch and a half behind me. At the end of the day, I was pretty worried because I've duked it out with him before. We actually tied on Dardanelle, and he beat me with a big bass. So I was like, here we go again. It's gonna happen again.
If y'all saw Drew's Facebook post about it, but he had some drone shots somehow of his second day, and it looked like he was in Key West. It was like stone cold clear water and no current, and he was way up a river and they weren't generating. So
I think he had Brooks Beatty with him filming, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure he had. Drew would just bring his own camera crew. You never know what he's. He's got a following, the flotilla out there with him.
Drew brings his own crew, and then Eric has Todd in the trees with a drone.
That's true. That's true. Eric brought his own, trophy guy and cameraman all in one.
Yeah. No, wait a minute. Isn't Todd the owner of the KFL team you're on?
Yeah, he is.
He's freaking Jerry Jones.
Dude,
he's doing it all. He's doing it all.
These two guys roasted me until probably 3:30 in the morning, 4 in the morning, Eric, in the middle of the street, harping on me about fishing on Todd's KFL team because 2 or 3 of the lakes are on the Tennessee River, and the best way to get me to do something is call me names and tell me that I can't do it.
Yeah.
I was almost. I'm glad we got out of that situation. I was almost to the point I'm about to show you. You keep on talking trash. I'm about to show you.
Now, Ryan, let's ask Eric here because I told Eric this in our chat about this show tonight. Even if committed while drunk, it's still a commitment. So if you committed to the team,
and I did not commit. I got out of the situation. We ran away quickly.
I don't think I would have necessarily remembered if you did.
Exactly, because he told me he was coming on this show 2 nights in a row, and told you he didn't remember.
I didn't. We weren't kind to our livers that night.
Whatever. We're celebrating, Eric. We're celebrating.
Right.
That's what we're doing.
I know. I saw Christy celebrating pretty hard last night.
It's the pro move. It's the pro move. It's what you're supposed to do.
That's what you gotta do.
Johnny, where are you from and what club do you fish with? I already know the answer to this because I had Josh Evans blowing up my DMs watching you fish. He was hyping you up to no end. So tell us where you're from, a little bit of history on you.
Well, let's go to the name I typed in here on the computer. Because for 2 days, who's that guy from Maryland? That's what I heard, so I had to run with it.
That's a fact.
It's better than Florida, man. That's for sure. So Maryland, yeah.
No,
Or cornbread. We could have called you cornbread.
I fish in the MAKBF, and I'll be honest with you. You know, I was just like thrilled to death to be in the top 10 after the first day.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And that's Aaron White and Josh. Like that's their, and you know, we're familiar with those guys from you know, hanging out and on the national trails and stuff. But how did you qualify? Did you qualify on the Chesapeake for this one?
no, actually, because you know I'm an old. See, some of you younger guys, all of my kids are grown and gone.
Amen.
So I have a little bit of extra time to fish. So I actually fish for the Bass Opens.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Because,
So that's where you spent your time this year. I got you.
Right. So, you know, going down there, you know, was kind of a little extra added bonus, you know, being able to go to the Classic, you know, and meet everybody. And, you know, so I said, well, you know, I'm going to take advantage of this. And I didn't expect to be sitting at the top of the leaderboard after the first day.
Well,
I mean, what's your best finish in a national tournament thus far?
Never been to one.
That's what I was thinking, but I didn't want to say it out loud. But
so you've
so
never been
I
to
had
one.
people messaging me that were
Hold
looking
on.
through like.
I've never been in the top 10 of anything.
So this guy messaged me and he's like, "Hey, I'm searching for this dude." He's like, "I don't even see like a top 10 on his Tourney X or nothing." And I was like, "It don't matter. The fish don't know if you got a top 10 or not because you're out there waxing ass today. Like, it don't matter what you've done your whole life. Today is your day, and you did it on day one for sure."
It's the secret sauce, man. You don't need national experience, and you need to take like 4 or 5 months off, like Eric. Then you come back and just wreck shot.
That was the craziest part of this story as I'm watching it, you know, watching it unfold, and you know, people are talking about who's leading, and then he's like, "I don't even see a top 10 on his list." I was like, it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter if you got a top 10 on your list. Today is that day. And you showed out on day one. And I mean, day two, like I said, I think everybody was kind of, you know, question marks in the air on that one. A lot of us know Eric, you know, he's been fishing the national stuff for the last, 5 or 6 years now. And, you know, waiting on that one big win. And I mean, this, you know, what better time to do it than on that stage? It was crazy.
Yeah, I think I've been bass fishing for about 4 years, 3.5.
It's a pretty good run.
Yeah, man. Well, let's go through your day twos because obviously, John, you had the lead going into day two. Eric had a little ground to make up, and you guys still had a bunch.
Let's not talk about day two.
Hey now, but like we said earlier, you had Drew Gregory, you know, lurking there behind you, Eric and John. But Casey had that big one on day one and had a good limit. There were about, I'd say there was 9, 10 guys that had a legit shot of putting up a big limit day two and catching either one of you probably. So y'all had, you know, some folks with you in the crosshairs. But going into day two, were you 100% confident, both of you, that your spots were going to hold up again because you had laid off those fish?
I was pretty confident that they were going to
Eric
be there.
was.
I was happy to see them when I got there, but I was pretty sure they were going to be there. Honestly, I thought if the crappie fishermen didn't show up and I had an hour to myself in the morning, I was going to wreck them quick. And that's not what happened. They would not eat anything that morning. I could not get them to bite. I just have to keep chucking this. I know eventually I'm going to get one to eat.
Todd told me Eric was going to hang up 100 inches on day two. And I'm like sitting there updating the leaderboard, and I'm like, either Eric is sandbagging or we're not going to hit 100 inches today.
It wasn't that easy, but it never is, especially on tournament day.
No.
I just knew, like, the whole way out there, heading to the spot, I just said, fish clean, fish clean, fish clean, because I knew I couldn't make any mistakes. Those spots are mean, man. You have to be on it. You one little lapse and they're gone. You better have your drag set right and everything, otherwise, they're gonna embarrass you. They don't mess around. So
How did
I
your
knew
day 2 go, Johnny? Did it start off hot and heavy like day 1 did, or was it a little more of a grind to get them going?
It was I think a little bit more of a grind. I don't think that the fish were living there. I think the fish were passing through.
Pull up every now and then to feed where that fresh water was coming in.
Because I didn't definitely find the same fish that was there, the day before.
Yeah.
In fact, my biggest fish I caught, I don't know, maybe about 1 o'clock or so in another cove, because I actually left.
So you moved out. You pulled off the spot and started
because
bouncing
I
around.
needed a fifth fish.
Yeah, gotcha.
You
And you put up that 5th fish not too long before the leaderboard shut off. So you were the last name that we saw on top, like for, all intents and purposes. And in a lot of people's minds, you had it.
Yeah, I knew earlier that afternoon that place was done for me. Where I had caught the fish the first day, and the morning of the second day, I knew it was pretty much done.
And looking at y'all's limits from day 2, I mean, you kind of went tit for tat there, 20s, 19s, 19 and 18 and a half. That 15, that 115 was the deal. And you say you only caught 5, so you had 5 fish, no culls that day, right?
None.
Just couldn't cull that 15. Unbelievable. Made it.
And I mean, if you look through the totals, Jeff, on the top 10 there, my boy Chris Walters, he finished 3rd. Right behind these gentlemen. He's a local TVKA guy. He was very consistent across the 2 days, holding up his limit. And Francis Tran as well, who I wanted to actually hang out with. I hate that I didn't see Francis other than on the stage, but those guys were pretty consistent on their limits. Russ made a move to slide up in there into 5th, and I'll tell you, in 10th place, which everybody voted for, was Greg Blanchard. And I don't know how people just assumed that, Greg was going to catch him out here, but he sure did. And I went up and congratulated him at the show. I was like, man, that's a heck of a comeback. And he's like, I didn't even fish that great. He's like, everybody in front of me just sucked. I started cracking up, and he's like, it's not like I did anything magic. Everybody else just kind of fell off. But I tell you, it was cool seeing our local Tennessee guys, Chris, Russ, and Joby Berry. He's a young guy that fishes up around the Watts Bar area quite a bit. I liked watching that, seeing those guys up there too.
Yeah, and some quote names that you normally see near the top of the leaderboard really struggled, either day 1 or day 2 or both. They really didn't see him up there where you thought you might.
I talked to Eric Thomason about his experience that he went out there and fished it. And Eric is generally pretty consistent across the country, and he's like, man, I just couldn't figure it out. He's like, the fish they weren't shallow. He's like, that river didn't really fish that great for me. He's like, I just couldn't find anything that made me confident, a good bet. I don't know if it was a little too early. Were any of the fish y'all caught spawned out, or do y'all think they were about a week and a half off from moving in to bed?
Yeah, it looked like they were about a week or 2 off. The water temp and everything, the way they were. I mean, I saw a few get up shallow. It looked like they were thinking about doing something, but I don't think they're quite there yet.
It had been warm all week, right, leading up to that. I mean, the air temp at least was fairly warm, whether it brought that water temp up or not.
It was cold that Sunday. It was getting pretty cold at night, but it was warming up pretty good during the day. Yeah.
What do you think Santee's going to do? That's the real question. As we talk about being a couple weeks out from some magic happening, what do you think's going to happen down on Santee?
That should be a fun tournament. There should be some big bags caught in that one.
After cashing your big check on the national stage, Johnny, are you going to jump in some more of these big events? You going to look at what else you can get on the schedule this year?
You're going to lean in for that one.
I know. It's got him excited now.
Well, see, I mean, the way that Bass set the schedule up this year kind of really doesn't work. It's a lot of driving for a guy from Maryland,
Right.
right? Texas, and then the championship, and then Florida and Oklahoma. And I'm really not into 2-day drives each way.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to skip Oklahoma and Florida, and I'll go do Alabama and what's at the end of the year, Pickwick.
Pickwick, man, that's a good one. Me and Siddiqui both really enjoy Pickwick quite well. That's a good lake. Smallmouth and largemouth. That is a hammer factory down there for sure. Is bass the only tournament series that is on your radar? There's a place called the Susquehanna, is why I asked, that draws some Maryland guys up to hang out.
Do I now?
Susquehanna, I think they call it. It's a little
Right,
smallmouth creek up there. Yeah, you ever thought about fishing that? You can ride up with Josh Evans. You can come on up.
No, I ain't doing all that pedaling, man. I'm 53.
You gotta have
It's
that
a
motor.
river. You ain't gonna have to pedal anything. You float down it. I'll drop you off and pick you up personally. I'll bring you some cracker. What old people like, Jeff? Porridge? What should I bring? I'll bring snacks.
Pudding.
Pudding. I'll bring some pudding pops.
Snack packs.
Help me help you, Johnny. Come on. Here's your chance. Let's run with it, man.
I'm going to do that KBF on the Potomac, though.
Bless you.
The Potomac. What's the timing on that one? Because I know that is one of the things that affected numbers on the Potomac for the bass last year. Josh and Aaron both were like, dude, this is not the move fishing up here. Then what's the timing of the KBF tournament? Is it better as far as the bite goes?
It should be.
Okay.
I'm not a big Potomac guy. I'd rather, I know you guys might not know too much about this place, but I'm Gunpowder River, I don't even like the Susquehanna that much, but.
And Potomac's title too for us Southern boys that don't know what a tidal
Right.
river is. That changes throughout the day, twice roughly. But
Yeah. Let me go back to these. Sorry, John. Go ahead, sir.
It will give guys, the fish title a little edge.
So I want to get back to some of these questions for you guys before I let them get too far down the scroll and I can't find them. So Todd, this isn't really a question, but he said leaderboard went down. John had a 2.5-inch lead, and that's accurate. We knew that, but we didn't know what Eric had done. Eric, was there any late day heroics? Obviously, you had to cull some. Was there any last minute stuff happening, or did you have your bag way before the time went out?
It wasn't a last minute thing. I think it was about an hour to go, maybe. I got the fish fired up. I culled a 15 with a 16.5, and then my next fish was at 17 3/4, and I knew that was a big upgrade. I know how big it was going to be, but that's the one that ended up doing it. After that, my small was a 17 1/4, and I couldn't call it for anything. And I caught 10 over 15 in the last hour, so I was sure that he had culled that 15 out because my fish were biting pretty good. I just couldn't call my 17 1/4.
Yeah. And John, did you have anything go wrong? Did you hook up and miss any or anything like that in the last little bit?
I actually lost two the end of getting close to the end of the day, the second day, but I don't believe that they would have helped. They were on the smaller side, maybe about 14 inches. I just couldn't find anything bigger than 15.
how did it feel? And two-part question: how did it feel, and how do you think it affected people's view of kayak anglers to stomp Mike Iaconelli like that? Anybody can take that one first, but I want both of you to answer it.
Everybody I met pretty much the entire time said that their only goal was to beat Ike. So he definitely had a target on his back, and those people were pretty happy that
And he should. That's an accomplishment when these pros fish these tournaments. I mean, that's what I feel like that's what we're all looking to do is measure up. See where it's at.
Right.
Fishing wise, not height wise.
No. Most everybody has that one won.
Yeah, and I thought it was cool that I gave some love to the kayak guys when he was interviewing with Zona during the actual classic over the weekend. So that was cool to put more eyes on it.
For sure. Johnny, how does it feel, not only getting on, arguably the biggest stage in kayak bass fishing, but to do it in front of one of the most accomplished pros that exists on earth right now?
Oh yeah, I feel blessed. I know that there's probably a lot of guys out there that, hands down, probably fish better than me. I just lucked up and found them.
There's just one. It's Eric Siddiqi. That's it. That's the only. That's it, buddy. You just showed everybody that.
This week it's just one. That's right.
Yep. We live in the now, pal.
Eric faded to black. What happened there, Ryan?
He did, man. Eric caught a fade out there in the pilot parking lot.
Lot lizard got him. I don't know. Maybe he'll come back in.
No. Oh, no. There would not be a less likely fade than that.
Well, let's ask. We're waiting on Eric to get back in. John, what about this? What did you learn from this event? You said you hadn't been in a lot of national events or done much of that. What did you learn as a competitive angler from this?
I learned that I could fish with Eric.
There you go.
Okay.
And I was watching a interview. I want to believe it was with Davey Height, maybe a month ago, 2 months ago, and they were talking about when you knew that you could fish with the best guys out there. Was there a tournament? Was there a time? And I guess, for all you guys, there was a tournament or a time where you realized, hey man, I can actually really do this. So I think maybe last week I might have actually realized that, hey, maybe I can do this.
Anybody can do. Like, that's the thing. Like, the fish don't know who you are. They don't know what kind of graph you're running or who your sponsors are or what stickers you got on your truck. Anybody can do it. I think for me, it was a put in the time thing, like it took about, I'd say 4 years before I had the confidence in myself to think that I could be competitive. And still there are some bodies of water and some, for me, weather systems that I still cannot figure out. Like, I don't know what, I feel just, completely blind. But that confidence and that momentum part is real. What you just did last week, that's a big momentum swing, for you. You're going to fish a lot more confident, whether you realize it or not. Enter as many tournaments as you can in the next 3 to 6 months. Momentum is a real thing. It's a very real thing.
Yeah, man. Eric's back. Can you hear us okay, Eric?
Yep. I don't know why it keeps happening.
That's all right, man. We got you. So we had this question earlier. It's the obvious one, is what are you going to do with your winnings? But to follow that up, after you answer that real quick, what does this win mean to you? I mean, to hold that big trophy up there, and what do you think this is going to do for you moving forward?
Well, I'll say it's been a little easier to get sponsors since this has happened. They're kind of coming to me now, which is nice. And a lot of the sponsors I've been with for a long time are stepping up and doing some things. So it's been pretty nice.
So elaborate on that a little more as far as what was your experience like at the Classic Expo after accomplishing something like this? Like, what was it like, walking around, people, recognizing you for doing this and wanting to talk, future opportunities from it?
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. Honestly, I had Todd following me around with my trophy. He's like, man, did you hear how many people are like, that's the kayak champion? Everybody knows. He's like, I can't believe you didn't talk to anyone. I was like, they didn't say it next to me. They said it next to you. I never heard any of them say that. But, but yeah, it's like the confidence I have on the water. It definitely gave me some more confidence to go. It's when you walk up with that blue trophy, it's kind of makes things go a little smoother when you're talking to sponsors and trying to, find out what you could talk them into doing for you.
Yeah, and it's crazy. It's crazy, man, because this bass, this emblem, Ryan and I have been outspoken and tried to help John with some of the shortcomings of their series so far, trying to make it better. We can't argue with their championship, but regardless of any of that, just the clout that the Blue Trophy brings and winning a bass event, it's there. I mean, that's real. When people see, Eric, won that championship trophy, that's a big deal. Same thing for Mark last year. Yep. That clout is there. So I hope Bass kind of understands that and really runs with it and tries to improve their product overall too.
Yeah.
It's a huge, it could, I mean, obviously the resources that they have, it could easily, very easily be the biggest and best platform in kayak fishing if they decide they want it to be that, I mean, I think part of it will be growth, obviously, numbers wise, but also investment back on the sponsor dollars. And Eric, I know we talked, before this, like the difference between first at 20,000 and second at 2,600. I would like to see that gap closed a little bit, no offense, but take home 8 or 10 grand off that. I'm sure Maryland guy would agree on that. Like, you were a quarter inch away from 20 grand. Like I'd like to see that kind of smoothed out, maybe with some sponsor backing or holdbacks throughout the year or whatever it takes to even that out a little bit. I think would really bode well for the championship part of it.
Let me ask y'all this: any of the three of you, do you think the championship being midweek affects attendance? Because I was shocked. It was a solid field. I mean, stacked with names that we're all familiar with as far as talent, but the numbers for the field weren't quite as high as I might think. Is it because of the midweek, or was it just because it was way out on the East Coast, or why do you think that was?
I love the midweek.
Yeah,
you don't have to worry about as many pleasure boaters and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so, I mean, there's that.
Yeah.
What was it last year? Like 160 or something? It was a lot last year. It was a lot of people last year.
Maybe, Texas more central. I don't know. I was kind of shocked to see it. Like I said, your usual suspects were on the list, so there was no lack of talent in this field. But seeing the numbers, which I'm sure affected the overall purse, we need those numbers to pump up so we can pump up that purse a little bit.
I know they did make it a little harder to qualify. Doing well in the Classic last year didn't qualify you to fish the next one,
right.
Outside of maybe Pendergraph. So I think it was top 10%, and they took in their 5 tournaments, I guess they did.
Yeah.
And I'll go ahead and tell you, we're going to run long on this episode because there's still like 5 or 6 things that we need to talk about. So if anybody has anybody waiting on a parking spot or anything, Siddiqi, I don't want to.
Ryan, you sound better the longer we're going here. I think we're talking.
That's because I'm keeping my vocal cords wet.
All right. You're doing good. Any more questions, please throw them in the chat, and I'll try to throw them on the screen. Russell Johnson's talking about an episode or an incident where Ike fell in the water. Anybody
Apparently, I got
that?
wet on day 2, from what I hear, and was not pleased at all with that experience.
How does he fall out?
I don't know how it happened. I hadn't witnessed it myself. I haven't seen any footage of it. I just know that he did indeed get wet.
But he's so small and light, it would be almost impossible to make the boat tip. So he must have tripped and fell out or something.
I would think Ike would just like float on top of the water, to be honest with you. I wouldn't even think he would sink.
Yeah, he's the size of the dudes that do all the funny handstands and look at how stable this boat is because the boat doesn't even know they're in it. So it's amazing that he fell out. But anyway, maybe there's some footage somewhere, somehow.
So back, I want to touch on the convention itself. Some of the meetings and conversations and people that we got to meet and whatnot. The buzz and the excitement around kayak fishing I'm talking about some of the oldest and top companies in this industry. It's huge. Everyone is paying attention, honestly. They know what's going on, and it surprised me talking to some of these reps and marketing directors that have been in these positions for 20, 25 years. They know the history of kayak fishing. They've watched the evolution, and they see how we took something that was 8 years ago that was a slower growth, and now it's on these huge stages. It's on the tournaments are on TV. Things have really kind of, especially in the last few years, really outran themselves. Now, I'm telling you, now is the time. Like we're about to see, I'm not saying the growth that we've seen thus far isn't great. What's about to happen is huge. Like we're where we need to be. I mean, I think we talk about it all the time. You're about to see the next big leap as far as investment and technology. I'd say within the next year and a half, for sure.
You think that brings new organizations into the fold, or just these sponsors throwing their money behind existing ones?
I think, I mean, I think that is largely up to existing organizations. Can you get the infrastructure in place to support that? Diplomatic answer. There you go.
There you go. Yeah. What do y'all think about that, Eric? Did you feel that as you walked around there?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, since the first Bassmaster I went to when I first started fishing, I think we're down on Wheeler, and I think that's. I just remember going to the show, and man, I think it was maybe one kayak booth, and it was the next year or two, and it just blew up. It went from one kayak booth to the entire place being all kayaks, just about, everything to do with kayak fishing, all the kayak fishing companies everywhere. So, it's been nice to see it grow. I think it's getting to the point now where we've wanted it to get to for a long time. We've all, thought it would get there, and it's finally starting to get there, and it's really good to see it.
Hobie had a big spread. Native Bonafide had a big main aisle spread. Old Town had a big main aisle spread. The presence was definitely, palpable in the arena itself. But Jeff, I want you to kind of touch on what Old Town is doing for its anglers, because the coverage that they gave as far as interviews and just highlighting what those guys are doing is awesome. I think Old Town is definitely leading the charge in support for their team guys for sure.
Yeah, we talked about it over on the Old Town team pages, about how impressed we were with what they did. Going live from the expo, going live from the ramp as the guys came off the water on day 1 and 2, going live before day 1, talking about what they'd found in practice. That's the kind of stuff we need to see, man. And I hope it kind of pushes other brands to do the same thing and come along. So I think they even grabbed Eric, didn't they, in the expo, and did a little interview with you there in the expo, right?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Were they trying to recruit you, Eric? No?
A little bit.
A little bit. Oh, okay.
Did they slip any cash in your pocket directly? Did Ryan Lilly slide a hot $5 in your pocket or anything?
Not unless I didn't notice it.
Nothing. We got it out at Connolly's bar with with my buddy Jake Fuller. If that did happen.
How about that bartender?
Yeah, but for real, man, I think that what Old Town did, man, hopefully that we see other companies do that for their anglers, and or organizations take a cue from that and start trying to do similar things. I know, AJ does a great job with the midday updates. Bass, All-American Series, they try to do similar things, but to actually have the live footage, bankside, plus as soon as they came off the water, have on-the-water footage ready to roll as soon as they came off the water and show highlights. I mean, that was next level stuff. I was impressed.
And I think the fact that it's a manufacturer that's investing and supporting their own guys speaks volumes too, because you see a lot of people in these team whatever jerseys, and that's what they got. They got a jersey in the mail. Like, you go out here and sweat for 8 or 10 hours a day and spend $1,000 or $1,200 per tournament chasing this stuff. And, we'll share, if you win, we're going to share your photo like that. Yeah. I mean, that's great that, whatever, but that's not even comparable to the effort that you're getting put into this stuff. And we talk about anglers, marketing and providing content. I agree that's a huge part of it. You have to show your value to these companies. But it's a whole lot easier to show your value when the company itself is promoting you. You're going to gain more exposure yourself, more followers. You're going to gain kind of more initiative, I feel like, when you're recognized for something.
And it also teaches you to be ready. I mean, because, you and I get on here every Monday night and run our mouth and talk to people, but it's not natural to get in front of a camera and talk at an event or after an event or at a weigh-in, especially at an event like, Bassmaster Championship. You're up there in front of all kinds of people having to talk. So the more you do it and the more you get used to doing interviews like that and being filmed while you're fishing and not getting nervous, that's just going to help everybody be a better angler.
And you've been on stage a couple times in various events, Eric. But, John, what was that like for you for your first your first run at it to be on the big stage with the cameras and a huge arena. Did you rehearse in front of a mirror? Did you have any, note cards? I know Eric pulled out a sponsor list at the end. Did you have anything prepared? How nervous were you to get up there and do that?
Oh, I'm nervous now.
As you lay back on your couch, you don't look nervous. You're doing a fine job.
You're in the right spot here. It's amateur hour out here.
Yeah. It was different. It's nothing that I think the first time that it ever happens, I don't think that you're prepared for it. I don't think writing anything on a card is going to prepare you for it.
The last time I was on that Bassmaster stage, I had sponsors written on my hand.
Yeah, well, next time I'm on the Bassmaster stage, I may need another 1/4 inch.
Yeah, or half an inch, whatever.
The last time you're on the Bassmaster stage, you signed with Native. Did you sign with Native again this time?
I did not. No, not this time.
Hey, you gave a wink and a nod to the crowd for that one. I remember
held
that
up
one.
my end. That's all I got to say about that. I held up my end.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Boy.
Hey, speaking of kayak brands, we had a question. Chris Marks asked, "What brands did you fish out of for this tournament?" Champ, what'd you fish out of?
What, kayak?
Yeah, what brand kayak?
Oh, Pro Angler 14, Hobie.
Pro Angler 14. Maryland guy, what were you in?
A Wilderness Systems Recon.
All right. Wildy and Hobie.
Wildy and Hobie, there you go.
Wildy fishing. Hashtag Wildy fishing.
Jason O'Brien, get out of here.
Yeah. Any more questions for these guys? Throw them in the comments. What else you got, Ryan, for these fellas?
I'm trying to think. Oh, Bob Cobb. Tell us about that, Siddiqi. I saw, we saw the post today. Like, what's it like meeting not only a legend, but somebody that's largely responsible for us even having the option to do any of this right now?
Uh-oh, we lost him.
Perfect timing.
He said his audio keeps going out, and that's why he leaves. John, did you meet Bob Cobb?
No, I didn't.
If you would have stayed for 4 more days and went to the Hyatt bar, you would have met Bob Cobb as well. Pro tip. That's it. Stay until you don't want to stay anymore. Do you have any experience or do you care anything about it as far as, sponsorships and pursuing this stuff and marketing? Like where are you at on that, John?
That's a bad subject to get into me with.
Really?
Well, see, because I'm a small business owner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, and I watch a lot of these younger guys. Here we go, because now I'm going to make a whole bunch of people butt sore.
No, let's go.
It'll be fine. We love that here.
That's what we do here. We're pros at that. What's up?
I watch these guys, and they talk about all this pro staff stuff, and I sit back as a business owner, and I say to myself, "Man, I wish I could get somebody to advertise for free." These younger guys are out here, and they're talking up these baits, and they're talking up the kayaks. And these companies actually make a lot of money. Yep. And I think that they need to start giving back to the angler. I don't think that 15% off of a bait that you marked up 300% is given back to an angler.
Agreed.
So, yeah,
Preach.
You ain't hurting anybody's butt here. You keep going.
We've had whole shows about that, Ryan.
I think that some of these guys on here, like this young man sitting next to me on this screen, needs to be compensated, for some of the things that he does.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure.
All he does now is walk in with the blue trophy and pow, and
just carries it everywhere.
They start writing checks.
Pilot gives him free showers now.
See?
He just walked in with that trophy, and they're like, "Here's your shower card,
Yeah.
That's right.
Your Honor."
That's it. Yeah, he's got that trophy in a baby seat back there. Just drops it on desks everywhere he goes. So
right before you cut out, Siddiqi, I was asking you one of the biggest questions yet. What was it like meeting Bob Cobb, one of the guys that's responsible for
Unbelievable.
fishing tournaments overall?
I was getting ready to walk out. I'd been kind of hanging out with all the boaters. Hank Cherry was there, and Christy, and Christy was carrying his trophy around just like I did. He didn't put that thing down either. He was walking all around with it. and he was having a good time. I was sitting there with Drew Cook, and he goes, "That's why they make doubles of those trophies, because they know when they give them to us, we're gonna mess that thing up that night." And he goes, "When I win mine, I'm setting it on fire." Oh man! So I was getting ready to leave and head back to the truck, and I get stopped, and this girl goes, you look like Paul Elias, and he won a classic, I think in the '70s, and she's like, "I want you to meet somebody," and then walks me over, and she's like, "You know who this is?" I was like, "Yeah, I know this." No, so they had me
Roland
sit down
Martin.
there and talk to him, and sit down. I swear I could listen to him talk for days, talking about how they started this stuff and everything, and oh man, it was pretty unbelievable. And one of the guys sitting around with us, he ran upstairs. I was like, "Where are you going?" He goes, "Bob wants to keep drinking, so I'm going to get a bottle of whiskey." So we just sat down there and drank all night long, and man, he could hang.
Yeah. Well, pro tip, he's been doing this for a lot longer than we have. I'd say that's not his first classic night.
This is a photo of Paul Elias. I'm trying to compare Paul Elias to Eric right there. He's got the beard
That looks
game.
like if Mel Ash and Eric Siddiqi had a baby, that would be him. That's such an awesome experience though, and we were we had obviously some of the college kids and stuff that were hanging around the dugout booth, and even Dylan was with us, and I'm like, the after hours part of this thing, some people are like, oh, just go sit down, be good, be still, behave. The relationships get built not when everybody's running around trying to reach in everybody's pocket for sponsorships. They want to know who you are. They want to, and I'm not saying go out and show yourself, but I am saying go out and socialize and build relationships with these people, with your sponsors, with the marketing guys, with the owners. Let them see that, number one, you are a person that they want to work with, but number two, like, they can trust you out in public, like, that you can carry on meaningful conversations, and that's what kind of gets that personal touch on a lot of this stuff. So I definitely recommend these dinners and happy hours and things for the networking purposes for sure.
Right. Those are I met some really cool people when I would go out after the show. Me and Bob talked till 5 a.m. It was one of the best nights of my life. I had a blast. I can never imagine something like that happening. It was
Daniel Davis. Wild. Daniel Davis said Momo's Barbecue in Dayton wants to sponsor you now, Eric. Yeah. So go ahead and write that down. You've made it now. I'll tell you, man, it was cool having people come up, and like I was sitting there eating nachos because if you know me, I gotta have a little snack every now and then. I slipped off to the side and I was eating nachos, and I thought I heard somebody say my name like over to the side, and I was like, they probably weren't talking about me or whatever. I got up and threw my stuff away, and he's like, I knew that was Lambert. It was Fat Cat Newton and his his buddies over there, and he brought me over and introduced me to them, and he's like, this guy, he and his partner run this podcast, and they, kind of drive the narrative of growing this thing and trying to improve things and make things better, and calling people to the carpet when that time comes, but kind of reassuring us, because we get all kinds of mud thrown, obviously, but reassuring us that is a place that there is in the industry for this platform alone. And I had a lady, Christy Cooper, come up from Nashville. Had no idea who I was. I sit and tell her all about this tricked out Hobie, and then she reads my name tag, and she listens to the audio podcast, so she had no idea what Jeff or I look like, and she said, holy shit, you're Ryan Lambert. She's like, I listen to KBN all the time. She's like, I'd never know what you're going to say. I said, oddly, I never know what I'm going to say, so that makes two of us. But it was cool to see, that people do listen to this stuff, and they do pay attention, and it's not just 50 kayak anglers live. This is industry, industry professionals, influencers, manufacturers, like Eric. This interview for you guys here, like, this is going to go everywhere. It's going to go around. Like, this stuff can, if it's something you're interested in, this is, going to help make you a personality, a person that's on their list of people to look at. So, John, I hope they send you checks. I hope nobody sends you a 15% off paddle tail swim bait card.
And you know what? I picked up what Eric said there, hanging out, and the actual bass boat guys, the pros that just fished for the world championship, seemed like they just brought you right in as part of the fishing gang, man. They were cool guys, and that's not really like that. I mean, out in your local boat ramp, you might get sideways with some dude in a bass boat, but overall, I think kayak anglers, as a guy that's just catching bass and trying to win checks, we're starting to get the respect we deserve. So that's awesome.
Right. A lot of those guys are starting to take notice. When they were doing the classic weigh-in, I was sitting backstage watching it on the TV there. Whenever one of them would go up, they'd come down, walk back there, grab some food, sit down, right next to me and start talking about their day and stuff. So that was pretty cool too. But just listening to them talk just reminded me, of us talking, sitting around at a tournament or after a tournament. It was pretty cool talking about how much they thought they made, fish they lost, and all that kind of stuff. It just reminded me of, sitting around talking with my buddies. It was pretty cool to see.
At the end of the day, we're all just catching bass. They just do it out of a bigger, faster boat, right?
Right.
Yep.
Well, not necessarily more expensive anymore, huh, Ryan? Selling $20,000 Hobies out of it.
I don't know why people are running around out here acting like $20,000 a sticker shock, like they didn't see the boat that Christine just took out of the dugout or the one I just drug out of there. Like, we can send you receipts over. That is not the first $20,000 boat Jamie Koza put together down there.
That's just wild. Back when I was fishing team tournaments with my father-in-law, I looked at my own fiberglass boat to move out of there, and to buy a new fiberglass was like $25,000. Not that long ago, So that's pretty wild to hear a sticker on that to be.
Todd Patrick just made a great point, reminding me of what part of that hour and a half long conversation we had in the middle of the street.
The top 50 comment?
If Eric's gonna make the KBN top 25 list this year,
No.
he was very offended by that at that current hour.
My God. Come on, Todd. I appreciate your passion, Todd. But it's we've all
hilarious.
said it's not necessarily talent-based. That's just a part.
Yeah, sadly we don't vote on ours. This isn't. What was that? What was that used to be out there? The
Yak
People's
Angler,
Choice.
man.
The Yak Angler. That was it. Best kayak anglers, and it would be like one dude that actually fished tournaments, and everybody else that had never even proven themselves ever.
Yeah, but Eric's off to a good start. If he fishes enough tournaments this year, I'm sure he'll be on the list because he should. Talent-wise, definitely should be. If we did like a coach's poll, he'd be in the top 25 every time. He'd be right
Every
there.
time.
Every time.
I like it.
Thanks, guys.
Congrats to you both. I mean, it was awesome being a part of that and seeing, the whole thing on the stage. Like, obviously, it's going to be something that you guys remember forever. But it was cool watching the tournament. I loved how it played out, how close it was. Very, very action-packed all the way to the end.
It couldn't have worked out any better. I was thinking that first day, I was like, man, all these other bass tournaments are a one day. I wish this one was a one day. And then at the end of the day, he took over the lead. I was like, okay, I'm kind of glad this is 2 day now.
Yeah, I didn't even touch on the fact that you had exactly 94 inches both days, which is also bizarre. Yeah, I mean, 94. Picture of consistency.
Worked out. What is your time? It's your time, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and what's next for both of you? What's your next event, Eric?
Probably going down to Harris Chain, although I saw gas is $5.50 a gallon, so I don't know if I'm gonna be doing that or not.
You got that
dropping like
check in your
flies.
pocket, boy. You're fine.
You got
Keep
20K.
rolling.
You're all right. John, Potomac for you? Is that what you said?
Potomac for me.
All right, man. All
Well,
right.
gotta
good
stay
luck
put.
to you
I
both.
can't
I hope
afford that
you'll
gas.
wear it out down there for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right.
Florida's
Anything
always
else?
fun.
Anything else from you, Ryan, before we wrap this thing up? Go get
I'm
some
good.
lozenges.
I think I checked. Yeah, checked. I got to drive to Memphis at like 5 in the morning, so I'm gonna take a nap.
Oh my. All right. Well,
I gotta
as
finish
always,
this
man.
drive. I know my boys are missing me, so.
Yeah.
Eric, any sponsors you want to thank before you get on the road back to the fam?
Got your list?
Get your list out. Get your list out.
I just thank all my sponsors for all the support, especially the ones that have been with me for a long time. That really take care of me. Dakota Lithium, especially, they've always taken care of me. The lodging and stuff like that, which has been huge the last few years. Fishing online, been with me for a long time. Yak Attack. If they had given me some more time on stage, I had said I wanted to get up there and say I've used the same Yak Attack landing net for 7 years, and that thing's landed more fish than the Gordon's Fisherman. But they didn't give me enough time to do that.
Oh,
So
you had that one queued up.
I did.
Oh,
There we go. Yeah, so just thanks to all my sponsors.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
John, anybody you want to thank besides Josh Evans for hyping you up so much?
Yeah,
And honestly, Rich Biggie, you better thank Rich Biggie, because not that I planned on overlooking you or anything, but he's like, hey, you ought to have him on too. And I was like, you know what? I don't know how I overlooked that. You're exactly right. There's a 1/4 inch of difference. So come on in, John.
you know, all the guys at the MAKBF, you know, man, they had my back both days. You know, they saw me up there. They were blowing my phone up, as everybody else was saying, who's that guy from Maryland?
It's the Maryland guy. Hey, and somebody wanted to see your tattoo that was peeking out from under that sleeve. You got a tattoo to show? You got there? So there you go. All right, man. Well, that's a wrap, I think. Once these guys get out of here and get on the road, unbelievable show. Thank y'all for watching wherever you watch from. And, of course, we love y'all on the audio podcast. You may come up and see Ryan or me again somewhere. And even though
Good luck. Good luck, guys. I will see you both, and hopefully I'll see you both on stage as the year progresses.
Congrats, fellas. We out of here.